Update, am I the a-hole for kicking my wife out after she punched my mom in the face? Original post. My situation went from bad to worse in a matter of a week and I don't know where else to turn. I need to know if I was wrong, possibly a validation thing because life is effing dumb right now. My wife and I have been together for 8 years. She just gave birth to our first and last baby 2 months ago. Up until my wife got pregnant, my mom loved her. I'm not sure what the F is wrong with my mom or why the switch happened, but after my wife got pregnant, my mom started being very clingy to me and started avoiding my wife at all costs. Told everyone she wasn't excited about the pregnancy, etc. That is strange. I threatened to go no contact with her when my wife was about 7 months along, and after that, she snapped out of it for the most part and stopped being so ignorant. The comments 100% stopped at least, though she is still clinging to me. That is very strange. Now, a week ago, my mom, my sister, and my sister's husband and my sister's daughter, 12, came over for dinner. I had prepared the meal. Before my wife could eat anything, our daughter got fussy, so my wife excused herself to go feed the baby and get her down to sleep. I thought I prepared enough, but apparently not because my niece was still starving. She's 5'5" and 190 pounds. I haven't seen her in a year and she was not that size then, so I didn't exactly portion an extra 3 helpings for a child, so it's on me. I apologized and told her that I hadn't made any more and offered her crackers. As I was putting my wife's portion in the fridge, after that I just went outside with my sister's husband to smoke a cigarette and shoot the breeze. Didn't think anything of it, but then I hear yelling from the inside. When I walk in, my wife and my mom were screaming at each other. Apparently my mom, who saw me put my wife's food away, gave my niece my wife's portion of food. As I was walking inside, I heard my mom say, "It looks like you can afford to skip a meal," and slap my wife's stomach. Right as soon as I get ready to step in, literally fast walking toward them yelling enough, my wife whines back and punches my mother square in the face and drops her. The whole house went silent outside of my mom crying and holding her face. I tell everyone to get the F out. Immediately everyone leaves and my wife just turns toward the counter and leans with her hands on the counter and face down, eyes closed. I look at my wife and say, "You too, leave now." She says, "Really?" She's crying at this point, and I clipped a yup. She packs up her and the baby and leaves. I text her that night and I say I just need some space. I need to decompress and come to terms with what just happened. She doesn't respond. The next 5 days I'm texting and calling and I get nothing. She shows up here today, so 8 days later, and hands me divorce paperwork and my baby and says, "Here, you have a bit to hang out with her while I pack. Where I'm breastfeeding, we can work out a visitation schedule that is either at your place or my mother's until she will take a bottle." I told her that's not what I want. I don't want to separate. I just needed time to process her punching my mother in the face. She said, "You needing time to process gave me time to process the fact that I refused to be in this situation any longer. I defended myself. I initially felt bad and remorseful, but you making me leave when I needed you made me see more clear. I'm done. I'm sorry for what I did, but there's no fixing this." She refused to speak to me at all for the rest of the time that she was here. My house feels so empty and I don't know what to do. Am I the a-hole for making her leave after she punched my mom? I just needed some effing space. I seriously don't understand why you would need your space when you threw your wife out of her home after your mom was abusing your wife. I think you're getting what you deserve because you need to support your wife in this situation, not kick her out of her house. ETA, for the record, I'm a team wife. My mom deserved it wholeheartedly, and I've blocked her completely from my life. I literally just needed some time to process what happened. My wife is a lot of things. Violent is not one of them. So this came completely out of left field and would not have happened without her being provoked. After it all happened, my mom sent me a text saying, "See, I told you she was crazy. That fat bitch doesn't belong in our life." I'm willing to bet she purposely tried setting my wife off. So no, I'm not on my wife's side 100%. I truly just needed to process what happened and my wife took it as me giving up on her, not defending her and throwing her and our baby out, which did essentially happen because I knew she had to take the baby with her when I kicked her out. ETA, the reason why my dad was stupid abusive. I was beat. My sisters and brother were beat. My mom was put in the hospital multiple times. It took years for the police to enforce restraining orders, and he finally died in 2013. Violence scares the F out of me. I clam up and get anxious around violence of any kind now. My wife knows this, and she too grew up with a violent dad, stepdad, and she gets just as anxious and panicky around violence. Her punching my mom in the face triggered an anxious response, and I needed her gone in that moment. I needed it far away from me. I don't know why I didn't just leave. I could have. But in that moment, I just let my emotions and fear run the whole effing circus and told everyone to get out, her included. My mom did slap her first. I guess for some reason I was seeing my wife's punch as being worse than the slap. It wasn't a hard slap, but my wife did kind of wince looking back on it now. She was fine following, but my mom was bleeding. Split her eyebrow open in a good shape, I don't know. Thanks for the responses, I am the a-hole. I'm going to try to go kiss ass now. Now for the comments before reading the update. So, to recap, you allowed your mommy to verbally abuse your pregnant wife for months, but still invited her into your wife's home. You stood there while your mother insulted and punched your wife in the abdomen, where she's been growing your child for the past 9 months. Then, when your provoked wife defended herself from your bag of garbage mother, you put your wife and child out of their home so you could process. Seriously, you put your wife and infant child out of their home instead of you leaving to pull yourself together and stop being a mama's boy. You showed your wife who you truly were that night. A less than, not a real husband, not a real father, not a real man. How is she ever supposed to unsee that? Processing what happened is one thing, but not supporting your wife and kicking her out is another. Your mom treated your wife poorly because you allowed it. Even your mom's text that she sent you shows that she thinks that it's okay to disrespect your wife. I guarantee your wife had been putting up with your mom's crap for a long time. She's had enough. You're not going to win her back. I totally agree with that. This 100%. I understand some people need space, but kicking your wife out is a whole other spectrum of assholeness. He could have gone for a walk and processed shit. Kicking his wife out is just... He deserves this divorce, unfortunately. He's definitely the a-hole. You are the a-hole. Your mother is an abusive POS and your wife reacted after she was provoked. You should have shut her down when she first started acting up. You should have set boundaries. You should have protected your wife who literally just grew and birthed your child. You kicked your wife and baby out of their home. You need to process? Take a walk. Go to a different room. Watch a movie. See a friend. Congratulations, you ruined your marriage over several months. This was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Do the decent thing and make separating easy. Additional info. My mom did hurt her. She slapped her in the stomach and my wife winced back in pain before punching her in the face, as a few other people have pointed out. I guess new moms have muscles separated in their abdomens, so given the force that my mom slapped her in the stomach, like a little bit below the rib cage, full backhanded slap, which could be heard from the door. I guess it's comparable to hitting my wife in her internal organs because her stomach muscles aren't healed. I just learned that. Now for the update. I'm still grieving at the loss of my marriage, but my friend had notified me about my husband's post that had too many specific details that were hard to ignore. To clarify, this is my first time on Reddit. I read my soon-to-be ex-husband's post and wanted to give my side of the story and include details that he didn't provide in his post. For those who hadn't read it, long story short, my husband kicked me out of the house after his mother had physically slapped my stomach in front of him, and I punched her in self-defense. I love my husband dearly, but his lack of action regarding his mother's behavior was extremely disgusting to say the least. I tolerated his mom's behavior long enough until I couldn't take it anymore, as he had overlooked his mom's behavior over and over again, that finally I had enough. I was still recovering after giving birth to his child when his mom slapped my stomach, and my husband exaggerated when he said it wasn't a hard slap. The slap itself was hard enough to be heard by everyone in the room. I had lost it at this point when his mother slapped my stomach with a turd-eating smirk that wasn't visible from my husband's point of view. At least that's what my husband claimed. I had a mental breakdown when my husband told me to leave after kicking everyone out of the house. You should have seen his face when he told me to get out with a straight face and without hesitation. Our baby was crying at this point before I left, and I couldn't do anything but cry that night after I went to stay with my mother. His mother sent me a text mockingly saying, "I'm going to file charges against you for assault, you fat little whore. Now stay the F out of our lives." She ended the text with a smiley face at the end. I was livid and decided I did not want to be associated with his family anymore and served my husband divorce papers, and as you can guess, he didn't take it well and he tried to get me to reconsider. I told him that he overlooked his mother's behavior one too many times and I was done with him. Good for you. I would be too. And his inability to establish boundaries with his mother. I recommended setting boundaries, but he didn't think it was necessary even after I told him throughout the pregnancy about the nasty names his mother called me when he wasn't around, and he always brushed it off even though he did tell his mom to stop. She would continue this behavior after a short pause after a while. You should have left him a long time ago. Before I left, after handing him divorce papers, he begged me for another chance and told me he cut off contact with his mother permanently. I told him that he is sorry now that I handed him divorce papers and that he was too late to act now, that I decided I wanted out of the marriage. I told him I loved him so much that he should look at it as a sign that if I didn't, then I would have divorced him a long time ago because he didn't stand up for me multiple times, and I let his mother's snarky comments and behavior slide at my mental expense. I told him he needed help with the trauma because I understand that he is dealing with trauma since he already mentioned my abusive stepdad, but he didn't even realize that his mother hadn't gotten him help for his trauma, that he is still being affected in his adulthood. What I can't understand is why he didn't leave if he needed some space instead of being such a heartless bastard and kicking our child out with me. I've been ignoring his texts and calls ever since, and I'm waiting for this divorce hearing. Something that I wanted to point out is that his mother had attributed to his niece's weight gain, since she lives with my husband's sister to save money. I once again told my husband that his niece's weight gain, that it's concerning that she weighs 190 pounds at such a young age, and she was indeed not that weight before. On the day of the incident, I was making the niece's second portion of food. Then my husband's mother came towards me and snatched the plate out of my hands and said, "I'll do it myself. Let me take care of it." And when I tried to take the plate back, his mother said, "I know what to effing do. You don't know how to properly feed someone as healthy as my grandchild." I was shocked that she thinks that her grandchild's weight was normal for her age. I couldn't take this harassment or abuse any longer, and my breaking point was reached when he kicked me and our child out of the house. Now I need to do what's right for our child because she doesn't need to be in a toxic household where she has to witness the drama going on. My soon-to-be ex-husband wants us to do marriage counseling, to which I have refused to do so because I'm done with him. I'm starting to feel slightly guilty with his begging and gaslighting. I just want to be done with him. I've blocked him as recommended by my lawyer, but he keeps searching and reaching out through his other family members and siblings. What should I do to make him go away until the divorce hearing? Story 2. I'm very disappointed in my husband. Plus update. Original post. My marriage has been struggling for the last year. I, 32 female, have been married to my husband, 33 male, for 6 years. Together for 8 years, and we've known each other for over 20 years. My husband is extremely accommodating. He doesn't help me with any household chores, even when we both have the same work day. He stalls until I lose patience and do it myself. This took a toll on our relationship, as it is stressful to take care of the house and my daughter alone and also collect socks and shirts that he scatters everywhere. Now, what was the last straw is we don't have a car and we needed to go buy some things. I had planned the day to do it in the morning and he would go with me. I woke up and did several tasks while he stayed on the couch. I didn't say anything because it was his day off. When we were close to leaving, my father-in-law called and asked for a favor. He got up and said he would help him. It would be quick and that our father-in-law would give us a ride afterwards. Okay, it wasn't our plan, but I can wait another 2 hours to go. My father-in-law is a hustler, lives off freelance work, and is supported by his mother, my husband's grandmother. He never works, always takes money, and never pays. It's a mess, in addition to always making inappropriate and false comments. He's a narcissist. That's why my mother-in-law divorced him. Well, 3 hours later, they arrive and I get in the car. My father-in-law asked why my daughter, 4 female, didn't go to school. And I said that I let her miss it because it's just a play day, and she asked to go shopping with me. And he simply says that I'm lazy and I didn't want to take her to school out of laziness, that I'm committed to going to the gym, that I should have the same commitment to school. He was rude and accusatory, as if he was recriminating me. I felt my blood boiling in my veins. First, because I do 1,000 things a day. I barely have time to rest, and secondly, because my father-in-law is the laziest person I've ever seen. He's never worked in his life. I took a deep breath and tried to control myself because I wanted to curse him. I looked at my husband, waiting for him to say something to his father. Anything. He did not say anything. He didn't defend me. He didn't even try to explain anything. What did I expect? For him to fight? No. But for him to at least say, "Don't talk to my wife like that," or "That's not true." This is not the first time my husband has failed to respond to someone in his family who says something inappropriate. He says it's better to avoid a fight, or that's just how they are. And on that day, all of our marital problems kept playing in my mind. I was very disappointed, and I can't look at him any other way unless I dislike him. I've been fighting for my marriage, but I feel like he isn't fighting for me, and now I really want to file for divorce. I'm hurt, and I'm afraid I'm overreacting because of this. Now for the updates. Update 1. A few weeks ago, I made a post about my wedding. Well, this is an update. I'm going to file for divorce. Since I wrote here, many things have happened. But long story short, I told my husband it wasn't working for me anymore. I asked for time to put things in order. He didn't respect my space. In a few days, he got sick and ended up staying at home. He was at my father-in-law's house and he was sleeping on the couch. He asked us to go to individual and couples therapy, and he said he didn't want to lose me. Well, a few days ago, my brother-in-law came to visit me, and they were talking about our marriage. I'm not proud to say this, but I overheard part of the conversation. My husband said he was trying hard to get back to being intimate, and that he intended to get me pregnant, knowing that with another child, I would never leave him. My brother-in-law laughed and said he would have to pierce more condoms for this. I don't take birth control at the moment, and we were using condoms as a contraception. I'm so angry that I've barely been able to look at him for the last few days. I've been avoiding him, and honestly, there's no more time to fix our marriage. How could he be capable of something like this? I feel deceived and manipulated in ways I can barely explain. He still doesn't know that I heard, and he doesn't know that I'm going to file for a divorce. Update 2. Not exactly an update, but a rant. Today I went to great-grandmother's house, my husband's grandmother. We sat down to talk, and she told me about a big fight between father-in-law and my husband, and that my husband had cut him off. I knew that they hadn't spoken for weeks. My husband arrived, and we stopped gossiping in the kitchen and talked about trivial matters. At one point, we heard the gate slam. The gate at my grandma's house is noisy, and my husband got up and went to see who had entered. Moments passed, and we began to hear altered voices. My husband and my father-in-law were yelling at each other, and my husband was saying things like, "You never recognize what we do and the opportunities we give you. You've always been a terrible son, a terrible brother, a terrible father, and a terrible husband. I'm tired of trying to help you. I did more than I should have, and you never get better." Yes, Grandma and I were listening behind the door, but when the argument got more intense, I entered the room and started asking them to calm down. Grandma can't be nervous, and she was nervous, and I've never seen my husband so nervous in the almost 25 years that I've known him. As I said in my first post, he is not confrontational and does not fight, but my husband attacked my father-in-law and pinned him against the wall and shook him. I ran and tried to push them away. At some point, I put my hand on my father-in-law's arm, and he turned it sharply. I felt pain, but I was too nervous to see what had happened. My husband reacted to this attitude by pressing my father-in-law even tighter against the wall, and it was with great difficulty that I managed to push my husband away. He was beside himself and expelled my father-in-law from Grandma's house. My wrist turned purple and swelled at the same moment, and my husband turned pale when he saw it. We went to the hospital, and I spent the rest of the day between doctors and x-rays. No bone was broken, but the orthopedist had to put it back in place and it hurt a lot. I even cried. I will use a compressor for 5 days. I'm writing this with my left hand. My wrist is hurting a lot. My husband is torn between worrying about me and going to fight with his father. He went to get my medicine and stopped by work to catch some time off. I demanded an explanation when he returned. I want to know why my husband became so extreme. What led to all of this? I don't know what to do now. I just wrote to vent. I still haven't told him about the conversation with brother-in-law nor about getting ready to leave. At the moment, all I can think about is what my father-in-law did. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you.